Welcome back to Turning Point Tonight, where together we are charting the course of America's cultural comeback. TPT at tpusa.com is the email address if you'd like to send in your thoughts, comments, concerns, criticisms. Also, go subscribe to our YouTube channel where you get exclusive content never before seen on this show. Just because, honestly, there's not enough time to talk about all the things that we want to talk about. I think today I was going to tell a story about an air travel trip that I had. Air travel? A flight. What am I trying to do? A flight yesterday in which I talked to a guy who said some things that I was like, I don't know if that's exactly true. But you can only find that on Turning Point Tonight's YouTube channel, also our Rumble, X, Facebook, all of those platforms. You're going to see that there. You know, in kind of trying to organize the flow of the show, there are some very important things to get to, and I know I teased the new Seattle mayor, and we will play that. But first, I thought, you know, all of you good folks deserve dessert before dinner, and in this case, it comes in the form of a post from the White House regarding the end of the shutdown. Just watch this, and you'll understand why I consider this dessert. If you remember Sombrero Gate that happened a couple weeks ago, in which the libs lost their mind about President Trump putting AI sombreros on Hakeem Jeffries and Senator Schumer, the White House did a loving tribute to that time in our country's history. Clip one.
I'm so tired.
Love him or hate him, you have to admit this has got to be the funniest president. I know some of you are gonna email again, tpt at tpusa.com. No, Reagan was also very, very funny, and he didn't have the internet, in which case I think Trump gets a little bit of an edge. That is freaking hilarious. You know what's not hilarious? Communism. What a transition that was. And unfortunately, it's going on in the state of the city of the communist state of Seattle. The new mayor that has been elected into office, old clip of her came up talking about what she's going to do with grocery stores. I want to play you that clip and again warn you of the, not that you folks need warning, what is happening here. We need to continue to convey the message that there are people out there like this, so that you good folks, when having conversations at church or with your neighbors about the direction of the country, you can point to some of these things and go, we don't want this. Go ahead and play cut 7.
Access to affordable, healthy food is a basic right. We cannot allow giant grocery chains to stomp all over our communities, close stores at will, and leave behind food deserts. Together we can build a Seattle where fresh food is for everyone, not just for those who can afford it. Food deserts are not natural. Corporations create them when they abandon our communities. As mayor, I'm excited to step up and with UFCW explore public option grocery stores to fill those gaps.
All right, we got more people on the whole public grocery stores. We're not going to let private businesses close because that's I don't even know how you justify that sort of thing. What's also interesting and kind of ironic here is producer Glenn pointed out the sign that she's standing behind is fresh food for all. One of the biggest arguments against the welfare program in this country is not necessarily that it exists, but what it exists for. If you have quote unquote food insecurity, which is again a made up term that a lot of people can fall under, because I think especially in places like California, they say 40% of people are food insecure and then don't really give a definition of what that means, but they use it to justify more spending on things that people don't need, i.e. snack and junk food. But the irony is that fresh food for all. How many SNAP recipients are buying fresh food, like fresh donuts, fresh Coca-Cola, fresh Doritos? How much of that SNAP benefit is being spent on fresh Twinkies for snack time? Who knows? And actually, that is the case. Who actually knows? Because interestingly enough, You can't find that data. It's not kept in any of the federal annals of, I don't know, historical ledgers. I trying to think of a fancy way of saying the data isn't kept. But all honest to God, you cannot find it because the data is not there. And that's done intentionally. They don't keep data on this stuff specifically because they don't want you and I knowing, the taxpayer that pays for all of these things, how much goes to food that people shouldn't be eating. Because two, if you look at it in the context of really the entirety of the welfare system, I obviously don't want people buying food that is terrible for people with my tax dollars, because then you know what happens is, well, then they end up eating that food and have health problems and they have to go to the hospital or the doctor. And who do you think pays for that? It's also me and also you. So yes, there are many justifiable reasons why you shouldn't be able to buy junk food with EBT or SNAP benefits or welfare really in any way, shape, or form. But ultimately, you shouldn't be able to do it because at the end of the day, it's going to cost me even more, which I don't like. You know, live your life, do whatever it is that you want to do. But if I have to pay for the lifestyle that you're living, guess what? I'm going to want some constraints put on what you're allowed to do with my tax money. Unfortunately, Seattle is continuing to slip into a communist hellhole with the new mayor, Katie Wilson, taking place, which, by the way, we played a couple clips from the Seattle mayor debate. Forget the guy's last name, but the current guy is Bruce. I don't know. Again, can't remember his last name. If you're in Seattle, tpt@tpusa.com, let me know what his last name is. But he said some insane things about crime. Again, we had that clip a while ago, but he effectively said, well, you know, some people commit crime, and who am I to judge? What if they have a traumatic upbringing? Oh, okay, then stabbing people with needles in the park unexpectedly is totally fine because you know what? He might have had a traumatic upbringing. Okay, so that guy lost to this lady. Unbelievable. It is one of those situations where I wish that more people paid attention to this because we need to see what happens to places like New York City and Seattle, and hopefully in the more sane parts of the country go, yeah, I really, really don't want that to happen here. Good luck, Seattle. Best wishes. I do love your coffee, but I don't want to live there. tpt@tpusa.com is the email address if you'd like to send along your thoughts, comments, concerns, criticisms. Up next, we got Kongman Lee, friend of the show, great follow on social media, talking about the rising number of young women who want to leave the country permanently, as well as the #1 country song in the country is AI. What are the ramifications of our art being made by computers and not having a human element to it? That and more coming up after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back to Turning Point Tonight, where together we are charting the course of America's cultural comeback. tpt@tpusa.com is the email if you'd like to send us your thoughts, comments, concerns, even criticisms. You're allowed to be wrong in our inbox. tpt@tpusa.com is that email address. Also, go follow us on our social media accounts, specifically the YouTube channel. If you're not on the YouTube channel, there's not enough pity that I can possibly heap upon you, because you're missing out on some of the greatest content you will ever, I guess, maybe never see if you're not on the YouTube channel as well. Turning Point Tonight's YouTube channel, growing by leaps and bounds. You don't want to be the only one that's not there. Joining us now is a great friend, great conservative. Kongman Lee is, among many things, a conservative commentator, streamer, all-around good guy. Kongman, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, so there's a couple statistics that have come out recently. Newsmax was reporting on this one that I thought was hilarious and also troubling at the same time. A Gallup poll says nearly 4 in 10 young women want to leave the United States. Gallup shows that 40% of U.S. women aged 18 to 29 want to permanently move to a different country if they could, which is the polling organization's highest levels, in 4 times higher than 2014. In other words, more and more and more young women, i.e. generally radicalized blue hair college students, want to leave the country permanently. Now, Kongman, talking briefly beforehand, I'm a son of an immigrant, you're an immigrant. what does that say that people are wanting to, or at least telling pollsters that we hate this country, it's the worst thing ever, and I want to leave immediately?
America is one of the only countries in the world where everyone simultaneously wants to come to America while calling it the worst country in the world, which
True.
makes no sense to me. And you can't say that we should have open borders, we should have asylum seekers, and anyone and everyone who wants to pour into our country should be able to come, while also saying it's the worst country in the world. It's the most racist, it's the most misogynistic, it is the Handmaid's Tale. Those two things can't coincide. And I think this is a big reason why liberals are very anxious and very just not well, because of that cognitive dissonance where a lot of the things that they believe, it's the same thing where they love Islam, but at the same time are for LGBTQ and feminism. And it's just this cognitive dissonance that happens, and it messes with their overall faculties of reason, which kind of lends them to being the most absurd and obnoxious people that you'll meet.
That is such a good point, because I can almost guarantee you that the types of people that say this, the 40% of young women who are like, I want to leave the country immediately, are also the, we should welcome everybody here. We shouldn't have immigration. I'm so mad that ICE is going into cities and enforcing the law. Interestingly enough, research from the Brookings Institute also found last year that around 40% of women under 30 also identify as liberal. So I wonder if there's a correlation there, so to speak. Kongman, I know we didn't necessarily send this to you, but I thought this was interesting and kind of coincides with this. Another poll conducted by Signal said that 60% of young liberals say that it's okay to break the law to stop ICE in these raids that are going around, getting all the illegals out of the country. What does that say about the state of things, especially in the minds of younger people, if they're saying, yeah, it's totally acceptable to break the law to stop someone else from enforcing the law?
I wish they had that much passion for babies in the womb. I wish they had that much passion for the forgotten men and women who are left behind in this country. It's
Yeah.
essentially that heat map. It's a meme online all the time shared about how conservatives love their family and their neighbors and their community, and then liberals outsource their compassion and they love external things that are not near to them a lot more. And this is a big part and reason why liberals have bad relationships. And I don't want to overgeneralize, but this tends to be the case where a lot of unhinged people come from broken homes because they don't have a solid community. They don't have a good church community, a good foundation, and a good relationship with their family. And so they find it in these social causes, they find it in these online communities. And at the end of the day, you see that these people find meaning in fighting for people whose names they don't know, whose faces they don't know, versus sowing into and investing into their own community and in their own families. Because at the end of the day, being a loving husband, being a loving father, being a loving daughter and son, that is harder to do than to virtue signal and say, we're going to fight the patriarchy and fight the fascists, because that's easy. That's actually easy. But the hard work is being someone who's present, loving, and attentive to those who are in your life.
Well, yeah, I find this so often. I was in Berkeley on Monday, and there was a big sign that said, "We are fighting for people of color." I was like, okay, that's me, and please stop fighting for me, because I know you think you're doing well, but it's actually a big hindrance to people like me who just want to focus on my family and our household. That's libs, blue hairs, just please stop the fight again for whatever you think it is that I want. This is also interesting, kind of a change of topic here. You're an artist in so many different ways, and art is, I think conservatives neglect art a little bit too much. I would love to see more good conservative art, and I say good because I think there's some people that are trying, and I don't know. I don't want to put down a bunch of like happy-go-lucky Christian movies, but they are what they are, and I don't necessarily know that it's like going to be a very moving component in the world of art. They're good, they're fine, but also a little bit corny. But AI is showing some real promise, for lack of a better word. The #1 country song right now, called "Walk My Way," is actually AI generated, and that is concerning. In the world of art, and as an artist yourself, what are your thoughts here? Like, what is this going to be ultimately kind of go away as people want, real people creating real things, or is this going to be something that we just kind of have to deal with in the art world?
I think there always is a healthy tension and balance that can be achieved in
Mm,
all things policy and all things politics and culture. And there's always one end of the extreme that like we're gonna be left behind. China's gonna overtake us if we don't go all in, full in, make everything AI. And then there's the other side of the extreme where they say no AI at all. AI's demonic. AI's the worst. I'm a
mm,
little more towards the middle where human ingenuity has always advanced the arts. When you even think about music, things were always computer generated in recent years. A lot of the things that are produced, a lot of the instruments you hear in your favorite songs and your favorite composers, they all use computer plugins. A lot of it's not actual instruments anymore. And a lot of people weren't really complaining about that, which again, I don't think there really is. I guess for me, my biggest thing is once AI starts to replace people and human interactions, that's where I believe it's the most
mm,
dangerous. When you go to your local McDonald's and instead of talking to someone and asking how they're doing and someone taking your order, it's now a machine. When AI starts to take millions and millions of jobs away from people, that's when I have a problem. And I think we can use AI to benefit and actually enhance our art without giving it completely to computer algorithms and language models. There is a happy medium that we can achieve where we continue to innovate with AI. So we're not left behind in the AI race, while at the same time maximizing like humanity and the human
mm.
element in all things.
Well, it is interesting too because you bring up a very good point. Like even before now, where everything is completely AI, there's a lot of like formulaic ways that pop music has been generated. Like you do this, you create this sort of beat, you do this, and it's kind of just like a almost a math problem that the pop music industry has figured out. Well, this works. I'm curious. I hope and I think that this might be a resurgence of like live performance arts. What do you think on that front? Are people going to want that sort of thing, and is that going to be that want elevated with the idea that well everything online is pretty much just digitally altered, and the only way I can get true human art is live in either a theater or some sort of live entertainment venue?
Yeah, with all things in culture and in society, there's always going to be a pendulum shift and
Mm,
swing into the other direction. You saw this with COVID, for example. So everyone normalized working and staying away from home and your family for
good
hours on
point.
end during the
Mhm.
day. But then once the work at home model kind of started to come back, we started to go back to pre-industrial revolutions ways of living where we're close to our family while we work for a lot of the day. And
Mhm.
then so in the same way, I do believe that as AI grows and the AI slop increases and everyone's like, oh yeah, I love the AI, there will be a resurgent. Wait, this is so empty. This is really not exactly speaking to my soul yet. It satisfies a little bits and here and makes me feel good in the moment. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, there's something missing here. There's something deeper
Mm.
I want. And then they'll find it. And I think people will go out and find it. They'll find the connections. They'll find the genuine art and the live performances that they're missing from just like computer generated songs and performances.
Interesting. No, I love that perspective. I think you're right. There's going to be something missing that just is that human element that I hopefully AI can't create, or hopefully at least people want going forward in their art. Kongman Lee, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate your perspective on things.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we're not able to play you that song for copyright reasons, but go check it out. Send us an email, Walk My Walk by Breaking Rust, which producer Glenn pointed out is such an ironic name because it's a computer entirely made of metal. So, of course, you got to break the rust. Walk My Walk. Listen to the song. Let us know what you think about it. Will people have this yearning for the human component, or is AI going to come in and take all of the artistic creativity away from humanity? Let us know. TPT at tpusa.com. Also, go subscribe to our YouTube channel, Turning Point Tonight on YouTube. Would love to hear your thoughts on any of those platforms, either in the comments or at tpt at tpusa.com. We will be right back after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back to Turning Point Tonight, where together we are charting the course of America's cultural comeback. TPT at tpusa.com is the email address. Also, go subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is growing by leaps and bounds. And you don't want to be the only person at the dinner party who's not talking about what's going on in the Turning Point Tonight YouTube channel. So go subscribe. YouTube.com, Turning Point Tonight. Also, Rumble, X. You know all the social media platforms. I don't need to keep reiterating it to all of you folks. Joining us now is Turning Point's White House correspondent Monica Paige from the White House. Monica, thanks for joining.
Thanks so much for having me, Joe Bob. How's it going?
It is going, and it is going better for. This is a terrible transition. I don't know what I'm thinking here, but really, it's better for foster kids around the country. The president and his wife Melania signing an executive order. Tell us about it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it happened in the East Room this afternoon in the White House. And for those that don't know, the East Room is kind of like one of the bigger rooms where you can host reporters and guests and Congress people for large gatherings where you can sign executive orders. Although we do need a little bit more space. So hopefully that ballroom gets finished up quicker than
Mm,
people anticipate for these events. But like you just mentioned, Joe Bob, this is called Fostering the Future, which is kind of an initiative from the Be Best initiative that the First Lady implemented during President Trump's first campaign, his first administration. And this just kind of like, I guess you can say, piggybacks off of what happened during the first term. So essentially, this is going to provide foster children with more resources during their stay in foster care and also transitioning out of the foster care system. For those that may not be aware, the National Foster Youth Institute says that about 50% of foster kids graduate high school, only 3% of foster kids actually get a college degree, and about 20% of foster children become homeless after aging out of the system. So this White
mm,
House is really, really it shows that it cares about the children, especially Melania Trump, the first lady. She's been advocating for children across the country, even globally, as well. So this is something that she's really proud to get behind. And she also secured a $25 million investment in the fiscal year of 2026 to help children who have aged out of the foster care system, provide housing for them, so they won't become homeless, so they can get the resources to, experience life, to get a job, to give them the resources and education that they need to successfully and smoothly transition out of the foster care system.
You know what, Monica? It's really interesting. All of the pro-abortion folks on the other side tend to hit us with, "Why don't you care
Mhm.
about the foster system?" Well, yeah, they just kind of conveniently miss all of these types of stories. So thank you for bringing that to us, Monica. While I've got you, the government is open again.
Mhm.
President Trump last night signing the bill that continues the government. Just anecdotally, I know you probably haven't talked specifically to anybody about this yet. What is the mood on the ground for the next time this comes up at the end of January? Oh my gosh, it hurts
Mhm.
even saying that we might have to do this again in 2 months.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think that that's kind of like looming overhead, kind of in the distance of the White House at this point, because
Hmm.
yeah, I think the mood for the White House is we're going to tackle that when January comes. But I actually did get a chance to speak to somebody from the comms department who was actually very excited to get her paycheck. She's very excited to get everybody back into the comms room in the lower press area of the White House, to have everybody back. So the mood is pretty light here at the White House. I know last night the president officially signed off on the government reopening. It was met with a round of applause. It was packed Oval Office from what I could see. But he is very excited to get back to work. He's excited to, get these, I guess, institutions up and running, especially like Social Security, these SNAP programs, et cetera, that people
Mhm.
rely on. That's a whole other beast that we could talk about for a whole other segment, SNAP and its overhaul, its reform that it desperately needs. But the mood is very light at the White House. Everyone's very excited, optimistic, positive, until January. But hopefully, we won't have to deal with such a crisis again,
Yeah,
as much as we did this past one, 43 days.
we will all find out together. I hope, fingers crossed, it doesn't happen again. And while I am excited that President Trump got the government back open, I got to be honest with you, Monica. I'm gonna miss Sombrero Gate. It was one of my
I will
favorite.
too.
It was one of my
Oh,
favorite gates. We will play later on in the show. The White House put out an homage to the sombrero wearing Congressman and Senator uh, Schumer and Jeffries. So as much as I'm excited for President Trump, I will miss those memes. Monica Page, Turning Point's White House correspondent. Thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate you taking the time.
thanks, Joe Bob.
Thank you. Speaking about President Trump, it's really interesting how many people were actually editing their January 6th footage of him. It's now my thought of who wasn't doing it. We did the story a couple days ago where the BBC had two of their top brass in the news division have to resign because of how they edited President Trump's January 6th speech to make it sound like things that he definitely did not say. Turns out they aren't the only ones. I think because of that, there is a worldwide audit on all of the people that put together documentary pieces on President Trump's January 6th speech and are going, oh, yeah, this is actually not anywhere near what he said. Maybe we should hold these people accountable. Those people include the Aussie broadcasters. ABC deceptively edited, according to the New York Post, Trump's January 6th speech, much like the BBC did. The ABC footage included, again, Aussie broadcasting channel, not our ABC, included Trump telling rallygoers, we're going to walk down. I'll be there with you because you'll never take back this country with weakness. You have to show strength. You have to be strong. The scene was followed by a cutaway shot, which edited out Trump calling for his supporters to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard. So there is that's going on in Australia. But that's not the only one. There's also Swedish media that is taking President Trump out of context and cutting it and editing it deceptively. This is the clip from Swedish media. I believe it is in Swedish, so we don't get to necessarily... I'll just go ahead and play the clip. And, well, I can't translate because I don't speak Swedish, or if that's what the Swedish language is even called. I guess I need to spend more time at IKEA. But watch this. Effectively, it's the same sort of thing, and we'll play a couple seconds of it.
Valfuskanklagelserna pågick i månader tills allt kulminerade i upplopp.
We're going to walk down and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down to the Capitol. We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Yep. So sounds like a similar thing is happening there in Sweden, in which case there's no way that these are the only networks that edited that. I mean, obviously the US media did that to a huge extent, but apparently it's happening worldwide. And I'm looking forward to all of the internet sleuths who look sleuths is generally a derogatory term. That's not what I mean. The types of people that go through everything on the internet and decipher what is right and wrong. We very much appreciate the job that those people do. And hopefully, not hopefully, I think they're probably going to uncover even more of this, to which, again, my question is, who didn't deceptively edit President Trump's speech? Now, again, speaking of President Trump, this is the type of thing that they don't want you to see. And I'm not sure if you guys all saw it. I saw this on TMZ because for some reason I like following entertainment news. But when Ozzy Osbourne died, President Trump actually called Sharon Osbourne and left a voicemail. And I guarantee you, all of the people that deceptively edited President Trump's January 6th did not report on this because this makes Trump look like the nice guy that he actually is. Play this cut 6.
I mean, should we play the voicemail?
Yeah.
Not saying who it's from. Everyone will know.
Hi, Sharon. It's Donald Trump, and I just wanted to wish you the best and the family. You have great. Ozzy was amazing. He was an amazing guy. I met him a few times, and I want to tell you, he was unique in every way and talented. So I just wanted to wish you the best, and it's a tough thing. I know how close you were, and whatever I can do, take care of yourself. Say hello to the family. Thanks. Bye.
Love him or hate him, he didn't have to call and leave a voicemail.
Listen, when it comes to politics, we know nobody comes out a winner.
Interesting. There's actually more footage there, but that's okay. We'll you can go find it. We'll share it on the internet. But Sharon basically said, I spent a month with him on his set of The Apprentice, and she had nothing bad to say. Like, him and Melania were great. They were super gracious and kind to all of us. And that's the type of stuff that the lib media never, ever plays. Again, a message when Ozzy Osbourne passed, President Trump says, hey, this is tough. And also, too, remember, Kelly Osbourne was got a huge backlash from everybody, including libs, when she went on The View when President Trump was running the first time. And I think she said something along the lines of, who's going to clean, if you deport all of the immigrants, who's going to clean your toilets? And even the libs were like, whoa, that doesn't make us look good in this case. But what I'm basically saying is that they're not fans, I think, politically speaking. I don't know about Sharon and I don't know about Jack, but Kelly, definitely not a fan. Kelly Osbourne, by the way, I don't want to bury the lead, Ozzy Osbourne's daughter. But his whole family got a voicemail from the President of the United States when their patriarch passed away. And just goes to show that the guy is a different person than the media continues to try and make you believe. You don't hate the media enough, and you especially don't hate the global media enough, the BBC, the Aussie broadcasting folks, and our friends in Sweden for some reason. So what else is new? They hate conservatives, and they hate the way that we view the world, but is what it is. We got some interesting footage from CNN that I'd like to play for you in our last segment. Kind of fun, kind of lighthearted, as well as a very, very lighthearted clip from the president that I don't know that you've seen that you're not going to want to miss. tpt@tpsa.com is the email address. We'll be right back after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back to Turning Point. Tonight, we're charting the course of America's cultural comeback. tpt@tpsa.com is the email. Also, go subscribe to our YouTube channel where you get unseen footage that we just can't squeeze into the finite period that we have with you here on Real America's Voice. I want to get quickly away to what it blows my mind. I'm not even going to set this up. I say I'm not going to set it up, and here I am setting it up. This is Abby Phillips, host of that debate show on CNN where we see Scott Jennings just ruining people's ideology, which is just so much fun to watch each and every night on CNN. Here's her with Joy Reid, former talk show host and DEI Harvard grad, talking about the truth and who's presenting the truth and who doesn't have the truth at their fingertips. Watch this cut 3.
Conservatives are living in a completely different information world
Absolutely.
than liberals. And breaking that down needs to be done. Because when you don't ever even hear the facts, it's hard to even know that you're wrong. And that happens a lot. I mean, half my job sometimes is knowing what the latest conspiracy is, so that if it comes up, I'm ready to address it. Because it happens a lot where people don't even know that what they're saying or what they've seen and believe is not true. And so that happens a lot. And I don't come away from that saying, what's the point of this? People are just saying false things. I think that one time that person brings up something that is debunked and false, and I debunk it at the table, might be the very first time that someone out there has heard an alternative point of view.
I'm sorry, my mouth turned into a fly trap. I gotta pick up my jaw off the floor. What? What the hell are you talking about? Yeah, the conservatives, they're the ones that are they don't know the truth. Did we miss the whole Fauci fever thing? Yes. Did we miss the idea that masks don't actually work and that did we miss all that? Yes. Did we miss the fact that Joe Biden was a senile, doddering old man and occupying the Oval Office? Yes, we did miss all of that, but it's conservatives who have no idea what they're talking about on anything because they don't know the facts. Okay. Good. I don't even know how much we need to argue with that because that's just so abundantly evident. It's like, all right, if you think that that's the case, case closed, argument over, good luck with that. Thank you for playing. Also, too, it's just so much. I don't need to go on about Scott Jennings, but if you've seen the clips on the internet or for some reason you punish yourself for your sins by watching CNN every night, it is actually fantastic to watch him sit around that table and just pick apart all of the bad ideas that the libs have, which is he does every single night. We'll wrap it up here with this hilarious video that I'm not sure a bunch of people saw. This is President Trump with one of the leaders, some Middle Eastern country. I'm not even sure. It doesn't even matter because with President Trump, he's giving him cologne, and what he says might be the funniest thing that a president has ever said. Watch this.
And then the other one is your wife.
How many wives? One or what? You guys said never know, right? I never.
This is take this one for you and the other one for your wife. Well, how many wives do you have? One, just one? Okay. Who says that? Who said the president of the United States says that? And also, he might be right. That's a good question. You never know in that part of the world specifically. You never know. How many wives do you have? One, two? Just one. Good. I never know. Never know. Whew, fun one. tpt@tpsa.com is the email if you'd like to send your thoughts, comments, concerns, criticisms. Also, go subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, right here on Real America's Voice. God bless America. Is it really that difficult? Is it really that hard? Is it really? This is one last point. I was on a flight yesterday coming back home from Phoenix, and I sat next to this guy who you could tell, you can tell like immediately this guy's going to be chatty. He's going to want to talk about, whatever. And thankfully he didn't for the whole flight. At a certain point, he put his headphones in and was like, all right, good talking to you. I'm like, oh, that's great. But one of the things that came up a little bit in conversation was he's like, oh, are you married? And I'm like, yeah, I'm married. He's like, you got kids? He's like, oh, yeah, I got 2 kids. And he goes, yeah, how long you been married? And I said, 8 years, 7 years? Actually, probably 8 years, 8-ish years, almost 8 years. He goes, man, that's hard. And I thought to myself, what? and here's the thing. This is one of those thoughts that I've had for like a really long time that I've always been like hesitant to say because it's kind of like, this is my experience, but I guess other people have different experiences. And sometimes, those experiences don't line up with the reality that you're living in, all of that sort of thing. And the other week, Matt Walsh said the thing that I've been thinking for a very long time, but just never really said, again, because I want to be relatively sensitive to friends of mine even. And he was like, they were filming this episode of the Daily Wire, whatever the show that they do with everybody. And they were like, oh, it's Matt's anniversary. And I think he's his 14th or 12th anniversary. And he said, again, what I've been thinking for years, he's like, people always said, marriage is so hard. And he's like, when does the hard part start? Like, this has been great. And I've always thought that. I heard the same thing, and I'm sure you at home have heard the same thing. A marriage is just it's so tough. It's so difficult, and you have to really fight for it. And I think that's probably true for some people. I have yet to experience that. And all of the friends that we hang out with that haven't had that experience. We had a couple friends over, and their daughter came over on Tuesday, and it's just easy. Like they are raising their daughter in the same way that we're raising ours at a church-based home, biblically based home, very polite. Kids interact very, very well. And we're sitting around the campfire, roasting marshmallows, talking theology. And again, I recognize that that's, I don't want to sound pompous or arrogant, but like that's our friend group. All people that are married and have a great marriage. I think probably where it becomes difficult is not necessarily even the mindset that you have in marriage, but the mindset you had going in. I think in the biblical sense of marriage, where two become one, if you take that seriously and literally, that you're just half of one thing, which is you and your spouse, it's not hard. Like we don't get in fights. I mean, yeah, we disagree on certain things, but like generally it's like, oh, I didn't wash this dish adequately enough before putting it in the drying rack. Like, it is not like groundbreaking things. And I've always wondered why that's the common default, that this guy on the airplane had to be, it's hard, it's tough, it's really, really tough. No, it's not. It's actually very easy. And also, not even is it very easy, it's made my life substantially better. Like, is raising kids hard? I think there's probably hard moments. I don't know. Kids are 2 and a couple months and 7 weeks old. So I guess I don't know where the difficulty there comes. I'm sure there will be difficulty, but even then, it's like when people say marriage is so hard, I don't quite understand what they're saying. There are difficult moments, I guess, but those are usually outside circumstances that, you know, are going to happen to any married couple, and that's you struggle through them together. And I'm thankful to have a person that I can do all of those things with. But to say that marriage is hard is, I don't know, it's a stretch for me, and it is, again, odd that so many people have that kind of as the default mindset. And I do think it is a hindrance if you go into marriage thinking that it's going to be hard. This is going to be super difficult. Yeah, maybe you gotta sort some things out individually before you decide to become one person. Because once you're one person, one entity, maybe I should say, it again really is kind of a dynamic that is fairly easy to kind of manage. You know, unless of course you have the roles all mixed up, in which case, yeah, it can, you know, potentially maybe cause some problems. But then I'd probably revert back to the stance of, well, you didn't necessarily go into it the right way. So that's that. Producer Glenn, do you have any thoughts, comments, concerns here? I see you've unmuted your microphone.
Oh, my first thought was when you described getting on the plane and you sat down next to a guy and you're like, oh, great, this guy's going to be chatty. I thought, oh, great, he sat next to me.
I was going to say, I sat next to Glenn.
He didn't literally, but some doppelganger, no doubt, or someone with a similar personality.
This particular
I can get
Glenn,
going and I won't shut up.
This particular Glenn was a decade or two older and a couple 100 pounds heavier. But yes, a
so I've
Glenn
got some
version.
room to grow here. That's good.
Yeah, nonetheless.
Yeah, I concur. I think being married, and I've been married for 10 years, I'll be 11 years in January. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, if you go into it with the wrong mindset or with weird expectations, and then those expectations aren't met, you're going to look at that dissonance between what you thought and what you're experiencing and say, wow, this is tough. This is hard. This is disappointing. And I think until you're married, you might have a hard time understanding what it's like. And you might have fears, or you might have seen bad examples of it growing up, or in whatever, you know, whatever you witnessed as a child, or, you know, in your developmental years. And that could probably set some unusual expectations, whether for things that are unrealistic, or just maybe you never saw a good marriage and you thought, oh, great, it's going to be a disaster. So you thought it would be hard either way. I mean, there's a lot of weird things that people think, and not to like, you know, cast aspersions on anyone who's not had that example. That's not the point. My thought is just the perception of it. It changes. It can change, and you should be open to seeing things differently as you learn more information, I think.
Yeah, I think, again, I've struggled saying that because I also, don't want to cast aspersions onto other people, and I understand that thought. But also, there's another side of me now that's like, well, maybe you should kind of try and dispel that kind of common notion that a lot of people have. Like, nah, it's actually great. Like, there's a reason why people have been doing it for the last, you know, since the dawn of time. So, well,
as believers, we have a unique benefit that, in the case of like an unbeliever's assessment of marriage, we're looking at marriage as something that God laid out in a blueprint. There's certain things, there's boundaries to what is and isn't marriage, and what we should and shouldn't expect from it. And, you know, the analogy being Christ's relationship with the church. So if you understand how Christ loved the church, and then you read in the New Testament, husbands love your wives like Christ loved the church, wives submit to your husbands. An unbeliever reading that would see, why would I submit to someone who's X, Y, and Z? Not thinking how Christ treats the church is you know, you're both leaning into really difficult and very high callings as husband and wife. So Not to get too preachy here, I know we're primarily politics, but it's incredibly related. And as we understand it, we look at it from a higher perspective, I think, which does give it a distinct advantage.
Yeah, well, I kind of think this bleeds into the politics thing too, because right, married people tend to be more conservative. Married people tend to want more autonomy from the hierarchy of government, and I think that actually plays quite well into the political structure and the political system, because there's a reason why. Well, I mean, there's actually lots of reasons as to why people should get married, but then there's also a lot of political benefits for that happening, right? Because, like you said, there are, Andrew and I were talking about this on Charlie's show yesterday, like conservatizing events. And that is, there are getting married, there's owning property, there's having kids, there's, a bunch of different things that once you've done that, it is, oh, I'm more of a conservative now. And then you get more and more and more and more. And I think, being married is one of those things. And because of that, I am really hesitant with the people that the default is, oh, this is so hard. It's just, it's very difficult and it's very hard. It's like, but it's not really. Or at least it doesn't have to be. And, make sure you go into it with that mindset and you'll probably be better off.
I'd agree. And as you said that, I was thinking by extension, generally, at least I think we'd agree the way it should work is married first, children second. And then, as you go, at least as the man, probably as the woman too, I can only think from a male's perspective from my own experience. But the idea is, as you become an adult, you're responsible for yourself. Your parents are no longer really as responsible for you. And you should, go in that direction. And then when you get married, it should be your first experience. Oh gosh, I'm now responsible for someone else's well-being. And, the inch toward conservatism, because in the liberal mindset, as you have a wife and family, like leftists generally want to take some of that away from you and put it underneath the umbrella of the government. So the government is responsible for these parts of what generally conservatives would say, no, that's the parents' job. And that's why a lot of conservatives are generally really up about, parental rights in a lot of spheres of different things. So I think, it's generally a package deal. Like, it's not just, I'm conservative every other way, but marriage, no, thank you. It's usually a network of ideas that probably, as you start to shift rightward in one, it draws the others further right along with it.
No, that is a good point. And I'll close it out on this. Is actually another thing that Matt Walsh said. I forget when and what point he was really talking about, but he was like, look in the pews at your church and find the family with 3 or 4. The more kids in that family, the more conservative those parents are, and the dad is probably very conservative, and the mom/wife is the most conservative, because that's how it ends up working. I don't know. It's not the reason why conservatives should promote family values. I think there's a God reason why you should promote those values, but the added benefit is the political side of it that makes them, I don't want to use the term radicalized, but also that feels appropriate. It'll radicalize you to ideas that promote radical freedom and autonomy from anybody who's going to try and get in the way of the flourishing of that family. So, interesting, fun one. Let us know in the comment section or through the email, tbt@tpusa.com. Is marriage hard? Is it supposed to be hard? Am I shooting off my mouth in a space that I don't? Are one of you going to email, just wait till your 50-year anniversary, then it gets hard? Like, all right. I do think there's probably, well, I won't go there. It's going to be very, once, if a spouse gets sick, then it's probably very hard. And that, unfortunately, that kind of happens to everybody. But kind of happens. It definitely happens to everybody. But outside of that, I'm waiting for the hard part. Let me know when it happens. I'll be here and I will tell you I was wrong. But until then, not that hard. This has been One Last Point. See you tomorrow. God bless America.